Welcome back to Frontline Eurosports Online. Your host Nate Jennings has Mr. Jones here for his second BMW delivery. We had the R9T with the aluminum tank the first time, and now we're going to be delivering what we just verified is the second in the country R1250GS Adventure. It's the very first one in our region, so you're the only dude on the East Coast with this bike so far. Heck yes, yeah. That's what I'm talking about, man. So we're going to go over this machine and some of the benefits and features with you guys, and familiarize you with your motorcycle so you can go out and enjoy before we got to go to work later today to pay for this beast, right?
Absolutely.
So we'll get started like we normally do. We talk about our wheels, tires, brakes, and all that happy jazz. We're sitting on a set of Bridgestones, which is new for this year. They're the Bridgestone Battle Adventure tires. We still have our cross-spoke tubeless system going for ourselves. Still twin disc brakes, still radially mounted calipers, but these calipers are going to be set up with, if you want to get a better view there, BMW embellishment on the side of them instead of just Brembro written on the side. Still maintain still braided brake lines for that precision and accuracy in the braking system. We're going to have our ABS sensor on the other side of the wheel that we can show you. And look at this, with our tire pressure monitoring system still there, we now have a 90-degree valve stem. That's a new upgrade for 19 that you'll like. So now almost all the machines with a 90-degree valve stem giving us the accessibility to always check our tire pressure. This is what I'm a fanatic about though. I love the new radiator shrouds, the new engine protection bars that they did for the new 2019 1250 models. You're in agreement?
Oh, absolutely.
It's sexy.
It's sexy.
Awesome. So if we go back, we got our water cooling system. This is going to be an access right here to access our coolant overflow, which is still going to have our visibility port right here to see our high and low for our coolant level. If I shake the bike a little bit, you can see the coolant in there. We still have a dual radiator system, one per cylinder with a auxiliary fan on the right-hand side for ourselves, which now you're going from an air-cooled BMW to a water-cooled BMW, so that's something new for us. And you'll feel the difference, and especially with this new 1250 motor, the top end and the torque, both amazing features on this machine. GS Adventure still has auxiliary lights for it, so we're fully equipped on this motorcycle. Still easy to service with our oil fill and our oil sight glass down on the right-hand side. Obviously, our drain's going to be on the bottom, and now we have a left side spin-off filter that I'll show you when we get to the other side of the motorcycle. We're going to have the Adventure foot peg kit, which gives us the larger foot pegs with a lot more grip, and we have the ability to switch from a standing and seating position by flipping this back. So what we do is you pull it back, you can see the spring working, and slip it down, so when we're standing and have a different riding position, we're not riding the brake. Excuse me. And when we're sitting, we can have a normal brake actuation that we would have if we were standing. So we have our silver frame set up right here with a black subframe that is a detachable element from this motorcycle. And we are going to have this cover that is covering our battery. There's going to be a positive and a negative post that is accessible for you if you ever needed to do any service to the battery or jump the bike for some reason. But we want to try to keep a battery maintainer on there, keep a battery tender or something on that jazz. Our rear brake pedal is leading to our brake master cylinder, which has still braided brake lines going up to our ABS module, and our overflow reservoir, so we can see our fluid levels and fluid clarity. We want to service our brakes. We definitely want to service our ABS module on these BMWs as well. That's the safety we're paying for. We want to maintain it and keep it flush. You've already outfitted this one with the aluminum panniers. Beautiful. Goes so good with that new clear coat aluminum tank that everybody's fallen in love with on the videos that we posted for the On Crating for Mr. Jones. As we come around the back of the motorcycle, you have the same tail light. I might have to get a water. It's been a busy morning. With our LED tail lamp assembly, our clear turn signals with amber bulbs to keep us 50 state compliant, and our big beautiful single-sided swing arm back here in the back with another correlating 90-degree valve stem. I love this mud guard. It's going to work really good for you when you're working with other riders and you're riding in a group. They can stay in a little bit tighter area with you and not worry about having all the spray come up. Keeps you, in my personal opinion, from having too big of a gap and having a car that wants to kind of slide in between you while you're riding in a group. So now we'll come over to the left-hand side of the motorcycle. And over here on the left side of the motorcycle, we'll be able to see our paralever shaft drive system, which is very similar to what you have on the R9T. We try to hide your Virginia State inspection back here behind the swing arm and subframe so you don't have anything contacting it. Our ride height sensor is hidden behind there, and that's what's working us on our suspension for our electronic suspension. This has an auto loading preload. So all you got to do is climb on the bike, it sets your preload for you, and then you designate where you want to be in a dynamic or a road type damping values. Our pegs are removable, so we can remove the whole peg element if we wanted just that solo look or go to a rally saddle or something to that nature. And that brings us to our seat before we go further forward anymore. We're going to take our key and show how we do seat adjustments and removal. So removing the rear seat, it's simple. We go towards the rear saddle, and that'll access the rear seat for us, which then gives us our toolkit underneath as well. Nice that you have a pannier there. You got a table for us to work with. So we've got our 8 and 10 millimeter. We've got our big 14 millimeter. Another Allen key underneath there. And then we have our Phillips, little star bit, and that. Which, what might that be? This is a tool.
Maybe it will help me put oil in the motorcycle.
That's right, man. Most people don't figure that out, but if you look at that shape, that matches what we have for that. We have that as a little breaker bar for ourselves as well. You're a smart pickle. He says, I know. Now removing the front saddle, if you want to do that for us, we'll have Mr. Jones slide the key counterclockwise or towards the front seat, and that removes the saddle. Now there's no adjustments or anything to be made on the saddle itself. Everything is on the motorcycle. So I showed you this earlier, and let's see if we remember how to go from our low to our high, and I'll hold that saddle for you on our other table over here.
So we gotta flip this back.
Yeah, it's going to do the rear of the saddle for us. Yes, sir.
And then there's a little release here.
Correct. Bam. And just flip it over so it says H. And the cool thing about this bike is that you can canter the saddle if you wanted to as well. So now you have a high front, we can quickly flip this down to keep us from riding into the tank if we feel that pushes into the tank, and keep the lower portion of the rear saddle. I like to let people leave in a low saddle position. You mind if I change it back real quick?
Yeah, let's
Get you acclimated to the motorcycle first. So now we are low, low. Easy to install the saddle again. Make sure you hear that click. There is 2 positions that we can rock out the rear saddle in. We can put it in a more forward position that's pretty strenuous to get it into, or put it in the back position. For simplicity, we'll put it in a little back position, make sure we got the pop. And now, you grab that key and show us how to access these beautiful aluminum panniers that we have here. We have a front and rear access with the lock cylinders down there. We flip that beast and pull up, releasing that claw, and now it is a hinged element going back. And we can do the same thing, and you'll see it'll hold itself with that retaining cord. Either way, it's center mount to center mount. So then we can jack it from the back, we can take both off and completely remove the lid, or we can completely remove the pannier system itself. Is it not going back?
No, it's just this stuff.
There we go. What you got to watch for, you see how it's thicker on this portion in the center? If it doesn't line up, yeah. So see how it's trying to grab that? Bam. There we go. And then you got one more lock cylinder for us, because we have 3 independent lock cylinders that are all keyed to the same key, and that's the actual removal. So we got that lock cylinder that's right in the front that's releasing the claw from the grid. Once we've pushed that in, see how it just slid itself forward? And that is the back. And a side view without the pannier on your R1250GSA. I'm feeling good today, guys. I'm getting 1250 down. I'm not making any more of those 1200 mistakes from a conditioned response. So now we have a keyless ride-equipped motorcycle. What is the only other thing that we have that this key will do for us that has a lock cylinder that you purchased for the motorcycle?
The Nav 6.
That's right. So we went with the new Nav 6. We'll just slip that in there. I'll get the camera up there and do a shot of us doing instrumentation and navigation here in a hot second. Getting back to the engine, we have a premium model. So we're equipped with the Gear Shift Assist Pro. That's going to allow for clutchless upshifts and clutchless downshifts with our adjustable shift pedal. You can break that loose and have an elliptical adjustment to find the right height for your boots that you're wearing. And using the Gear Shift Assist Pro. From the start, we have the clutch pulled in, and we're just going to take off like normal. At that point, as long as you have the throttle opened or opening, bop, 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 but don't blip the throttle. Don't do an old power shift style, because you're telling the motorcycle that I'm closing the throttle and I don't want to use the Gear Shift Assist Pro. So as long as it's opened or opening, bop, 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 and downshift. Boom, close. I'll over-exaggerate that for you, remember. Close that throttle and bum, 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 down with rev match. It's beautiful, that little retard of the fire and fuel, that beautiful match, the perfect RPM. It makes it a nice safety feature. It's also going to be something that's very athletic and sport performance oriented for you. Behind this cover is our little starter relay and our side stand that has a side stand switch, killing the bike if we're in first or second gear trying to take off with the side stand down. It'll immediately kill the machine for you. Our new shift cam covers on the valve covers, you can see shift cam written on the side, so there's your new designator for this power plant. And our spin-on filter that we promised we'd show you down here on the bottom. Pretty much everything I can show you on this side of the motorcycle. So let's get up into the instrumentation and the fun stuff. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, so now we're going to get into the handlebars and instrumentation. So we got our right side. We're going to start with the right side brake lever that has adjustability, that doesn't require you pulling the lever out and using the adjuster. You can actually adjust those on the fly. So little things that go a million miles for me. And then we have our ride-by-wire throttle. No more push and pull cables. It is a rheostat in the housing that you're telling it where you want it to be. We have heated grips top side, mode selection, run cycle, and start. The BMW does not require the clutch to be pulled in to start the motorcycle, so anytime we're ready to hit that, we need to be ready to take off and maintain control of our motorcycle, right? Moving across this side, we're going to have our pocket for our key fob or toll change or what Nate usually says, but I'll be PC today on the old movie and video. Keyless ride. So the keyless ride also operates our fuel entry. We just want to make sure that there's this little chrome piece down here. We don't want to damage that in closing it. We would always want to pull the tab up and push down until it snaps. And if you wanted to try that real quick, you heard it click and open. And that's access to our fuel filler. And then you got to put a little, hold that up and put a little pressure. There you go. Bam. You heard that click, so you know it was down nice and firmly for you. Roll up through our rondelle into our ignition. A lot of people don't realize, they say, hey, keyless ignition, how do I do a steering column lock now? Well, BMW thought about that. Just hold that button and it locks her down. One quick burst is going to release that. And so we're not going to turn this on yet because we don't want to go through instrumentation until we've done a review on all this good stuff. We're going to have our auxiliary lights for our factory LED auxiliary lighting. Starting at the bottom, our horn, normal location, left and right turn signals with cancelization there. That's my coined word, don't steal it. ABS, traction control, and our electronic suspension adjustments on the bottom. So ABS and traction control, electronic suspension. Our menu and multifunction controller, which we'll definitely have to go into the instrumentation and go over that. Our hazard lights, cruise control. You just slip the cruise control over, hit our set button. We can increase, decrease, do constant, or resume with the bottom button. Multiple different ways to kill it. You can flip the switch back over, but now you've got this new 136 horsepower motorcycle up from 125. And if anytime you chop that throttle, what happens? Boat anchor out the back, all that engine brake of that big boxer. So the way we want to come off this nice and smooth and easy is utilizing our throttle by giving it just a little bit of maintenance throttle. You can open it up just a few degrees and slightly run over your clutch. There's a micro switch that you can hear just with just a little bit of application, because pulling in the clutch, flowing our switch over, hitting the front brake, pushing our throttle forward, hitting the rear brake are all ways to get us off of cruise control. Then we have our high beam. High beam is a forward trigger switch and flash switch for ourselves there. So you haven't turned the instrumentation on. You haven't seen the beautiful TFT on this motorcycle at all. I'm going to make you wait even longer because we got to go over the navigation real quick and the windscreen adjustment, and then we'll go into that. So navigation's real quick and easy. We can unlock it, pull a tab, push it, release it, put our cover plate back on, take this in our house, get off our plots for our next amazing trip that we take on our adventure. Actually, it wouldn't be just a trip. It would be an adventure. So we're going to lock that beast back down, but I'll leave the key in there just for demonstration purposes right now. That has a bit of an angle to it for the windscreen adjustment. So if you reached up with your left hand, that would be more easy and simplistic for you to make adjustments to the height of that. You can twist it all the way up and down and show everybody how badass this bigger GS Adventure windscreen is. So look how it actually changes its pitch just a little bit too at the top of it. And it creates this perfect, nice, calm pocket of air when you combine this windscreen with the slip streamers on the side, the size of the 7.9 gallon aluminum tank that still does take super unleaded. And we go back into the rest of this perfect, calm pocket of air for us to take an adventure across the world. All right, Mr. Jones, it's time.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Push that little center button for us with one quick burst. Our key is within proximity. We let that beautiful thing queue up real quick. Just go ahead and get you agreed up on your nav 6 here while we're talking. So in the instrumentation down here, now that we have the navigation, I can show you all of the options that we have. Starting with the right hand side, we're going to tap our heated grips. Go ahead and do that for us. And you're going to see it coming on here. You had level 2, level 1, and off. And that cycles through quick and easy anytime you want. Now we have mode selection. We can tap mode. It'll appear on the top right hand side. Now that opened the board, and that goes to Dynamic Pro, Enduro Pro, there we go, Enduro Pro, Rain, and back to road, which is probably our preferred method of leaving the lot today. We've gone over everything over there, so now we come along to the left-hand side. We have our auxiliary lighting, which is pretty we know what lighting does. It turns lights on. No need to go into that too much in depth. We have our ABS and traction control lights flashing for us over there. If we tap this one time, we can turn off our traction control with a 1 second hold. We can do a 3 second hold and turn off our ABS and have no ABS or traction control. 1 second hold, turn my ABS off, traction control on. And this is something you can do in any ride mode to get your preferred settings for yourself. Now, anytime you see that solid that's saying, hey, Mr. Jones, you just made a conscious decision to turn me off, so be careful you don't have any ABS. The flashing light's going to go away after a few feet and a few miles an hour to let the speed sensors know that they're communicating and working. It'll always come in an on position now. Some people like to just hold it like that and cycle through everything until they find their desired setting. The bottom is our suspension. I can only show you one of the settings. It's going to come in auto right now for the preload. I'm not going to be able to change that. Take it easy, wild man. Okay. We tap it one time. We tap again. That quick tap gives us our damping value changes. So we have road dynamic or dynamic. I have to say that because it's dynamically changing the damping values between the two. There used to be 3 settings. Now we have 2, and it's dynamic. So if we want to change our actual preload, you would have to have the engine on and hold it. It'll change you from that auto to a maximum preload to a minimum preload to auto, which you will feel change. And that's something that is very effective and very noticeable. I had a client yesterday call me back and say, hey, how do I get back out on minimum? Even though I did a video for him and everything. He would be like, hey, my wife got on, I felt like I was sagging. Well, we just switched it back over to auto, and that's going to pump it back up, and now he's good to go and happy again. So now let's go into the good, fun stuff of going through instrumentation with the menu button. We hit the down button because you saw this symbol right here, which matches that on the switch cube. We can hit it again and go into my vehicle. Now that brings up a menu that we can slide through. You'll see different boxes at the top designating which menu you're in, but as long as you have arrows, that's where you can go with your multifunction controller. So we go past our first vehicle. We have a board computer 1, a board computer 2. We can hit the down button on that one to reset. That's a lot of people's questions. How do I reset? You can do automatic resets. You can reset everything. You can go in and do individual resets. So I'm going to get back out of that beast. Tire pressure monitoring system. And in our service requirements. To quickly exit out of this, we're going to hit that top button and take us back to our main menu. That also is going to move our speedometer up top, move our upper tray over to the right and our gear indicator to make room for this, but you still have your temperature and your timepiece down there as well. So everything's still visible on the bike, it's just consolidating to make room for this. Now we have an over arrow, let's go over. We don't have navigation set up from our phone or media or telephone yet, we'll get all that correlated. We'll go into settings. So we hit that down arrow. You have vehicle settings, tire pressure, hill start control. Wow, that's new, right? We can go off, manual, or okay. You know, in this menu it used to only be tire pressure monitoring system, and then in the later generations of the 18 they started adding Enduro Pro and Dynamic Pro adjustments. So you got something even more badass and new on this bike. As we go down, we go into system settings, date, time, units of measurement, language, all personal preference stuff. Depends what languages you speak. We can hook up our phone as we discussed earlier so we can activate some of our other menus there. 2 helmets will go into that beast. And then our display. This one's important for me. I have the brightness, which is cool. It's beautiful. You can turn it up if you want to. But we also have status line content. I think this is important because they auto default you to having every possible option displayed, and that would be what's normally a quick reference for you, not having to go into the menu. Would you like to have your fuel tank level visible for you, sir?
Sure.
I think that's important. Odometer? You don't like odometer? We do trip meters. You use trip meters?
Yeah.
Do you like 1 or 2 of them available?
Just one's fine.
Just 1? Fuel consumption average?
Yeah.
1 or 2?
Just one.
Riding time? Do you care how long you've been riding?
Yeah.
All right, we'll leave 1 of those or 2 of those. All right. Do you like to know how long you take breaks for? No.
I don't take breaks.
That's right. You're always riding on this beast. Do you like to have your average speed visible to yourself?
Yeah, we can do one of them.
All right. And I'm going to make you keep your tire pressure monitoring system. So you saw how many options we had there, and this is why it's important to go down and reduce those. We have the ability to quickly go through burst and change. There's our fuel, our trip, our average miles per gallon, our ride time, our average speed, our tire pressure monitoring system, our range on tank, and back to our fuel bar. So imagine having to go through all those breaks, go through all those trip meters, and make it more complicated when you're just trying to quick get an idea of a few different bits of information that you want to reference to. Then we have one other option for this up menu. Not only does it do our upper visible tray, but it also is going to switch us from TFT to the navigation system. So we have our map open right here. What we can do is hold this button until it illuminates your navigation. Now I am using the multifunction controller on that bad-ass Nav 6. Look at that thing. Hey, there's the mountains we're about to go right up over on 311 right there. That's some of the stuff you see in all the videos all the time. So we can also go through different trays here as well with our compass, utilize our multifunction controller for all of our other options on this motorcycle. Oops. Yes, I do want to go in there. Our overkill of information right there a lot of people like to see. And then back to our normal display. So to get out of that, now we have to use the down button. We hold that. That takes us back to the nav so that when we're using the buttons here, we can use the multifunction controller to navigate through our instrumentation. So that is pretty much this motorcycle in a big nutshell because it is a big motorcycle.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions that you might have for me at this point in time?
All ready to go.
Down the street. Congratulations, Brian. Thanks for watching the new 2019 BMW R1250GS Adventure in the ice gray. First on crating. First delivery. I'm sure it's the first delivery video because you're only the second one in the country, baby. That is good stuff. You guys have a good day. Thank you again, Mr. Jones. Appreciate your repeat business here at Frontline Eurosports.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Jones agreed to do a little startup so you can hear the difference. This motor sounds completely different